Let's talk about Saka as well too, right? I want to talk about Arsenal a little bit. Arsenal for me, again, weren't extraordinary. I didn't think they were like unbelievable. They got the job done. They got the job done. Wolves were pretty decent actually. Wolves under Gary O'Neill has just become kind of that team that I expect them to finish mid-table. They're gonna grab a few scalps against the big teams. Their team probably isn't deep enough overall to kind of get above mid-table, but they're a solid team. I think Gary O'Neill has really solidified them. But I want to talk about two players in particular. Kai Havertz up front and Bukayo Saka on the right. Havertz had a really good performance. And I'm not one of these people that think Arsenal needs a striker, because I think honestly, quote me on this, I think you can win the league with Kai Havertz up front. Not in midfield, but up front, I think you can actually win the league with him up front. I think he can get you 15 plus. He's going to improve your attack. Like, this is what I said over the Euros, and people killed me for it. Kai Havertz is not as a great goal scorer. Like, there's better goal scorers out there. There are guys that can probably score you more goals than Kai Havertz for Arsenal. But in terms of the way he improves your attack, I think it's understated. He leads the line well. He's a big guy. He holds up the ball. He runs the channels. His runs are incredibly intelligent. Just overall, he's a very intelligent footballer. He's pretty good in the air too. I think people forget Kai Havertz is 6'4". I don't think striker is really like, could Arsenal do with a great, like, if you can get Osimhen, I get it, fairs. But like, I don't think a striker is the biggest concern for Arsenal in my opinion. And I think Kai Havertz will show it this year. He showed it towards the second half of last season. I think he'll show it this year. I think you can win the league with a guy like him up front. I think really it's on the left that Arsenal need to really improve on, both in left central midfield, which it looks like Marino is kind of coming in to do that job, and on the left in terms of their left winger. This is a big season for Martinelli, because eventually that 17-goal season that he had a few years ago, it can only give you benefit of the doubt amongst your fan base for so long. And I'm sorry, chat, I feel like it gets so overplayed. Like, Bowen has like 15 goals a season every year in the Prem, and no one rates him to this incredible level. Martinelli had a good season that year. That doesn't mean that he's this untouchable asset that's guaranteed to become a world-class left winger. Eventually, he needs to get it together himself and start to elevate himself as a player. Because right now, there are serious holes in his game that it happened with Smith Rowe, right? Smith Rowe was a huge part of that Arsenal resurgence where it was him, it was Saka, and Martinelli. And then eventually, the Arsenal project slowly began to develop and improve and escalate faster than Smith Rowe was able to keep up with. Eventually, the Arsenal project outgrew Emile Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe was not able to keep up with how quickly Arsenal's squad developed. There is a serious threat that the same happens with Martinelli. Martinelli lasted longer than Smith Rowe, but I'm sorry, there's a genuine argument to say that Arsenal become a title caliber team, a Champions League caliber team, and that team doesn't include Martinelli in their plans anymore because Martinelli is not able to keep up with the trajectory of the team. And I think a lot of Arsenal fans are sometimes reluctant and they don't want to kind of accept that. They don't want to accept that possibility. I'm not saying it's a reality yet. Martinelli could have a great season and get himself back on track. But there is a huge possibility that Arsenal become an amazing title-winning and Champions League caliber team, and Martinelli's not in that starting 11. He's not an inevitable talent. Martinelli is not an elite level talent that it's a guarantee he eventually hits. There's no guarantee with Martinelli. Hopefully for his own good, and like I said, I like to see talent achieved. I like to see potential reached. So for his own sake, I would love Martinelli as an individual to become what he should be. But there's every chance he doesn't. And I don't know if Arsenal can necessarily wait around and just hope on his development and hope he becomes that player. And I said it when I was talking about like the Marino deal. And I was like, Marino's a great signing. He's going to improve them. But Arsenal also need a player in the final third that has a level of superstardom, a level of X factor in which you can kind of give him the ball, similar to what Bukayo Saka is doing. And we're going to talk about Saka in a second. Give him the ball, and he is so good and so talented and so inevitable that he gets you out of problems himself. I do think Arsenal need that kind of player, and it's very difficult to find those players in the market because A, you have to find a team even willing to accept offers for them, and you also have to break the bank for that kind of player. It's not easy to sign a Leao kind of player. It's not easy to sign a Rodrigo kind of player. Those players require probably £100 million, and it requires their club even being willing to listen to offers for them. But I'm sorry, if that player then becomes available, you can't just keep hoping around that Martinelli will become the player you want him to be. On the right, though, boy, Bukayo Saka. What a player. What a fucking player. Chat, honestly, this kid, is he a kid anymore? He's 22 years old, right? Probably turning 23 soon. He is so good. He is so fucking good. Saka's simply world class. I don't like using that word because there's no definition for the word world class. I hate when people use that word because they argue semantics with it. One person's definition of world class is different to another person's definition of world class. But one thing's for sure, If your definition of world class is he's a top 3 player in his position, yeah, definitely. Saka's what? You got Saka, Salah, and then Lamine, I would say. Those are probably the 3 best in that position. Right wing isn't the greatest in terms of depth. He's in those conversations, bro. He's unreal. And I said it a few years ago, right? He's starting to become inevitable when he cuts in on that left and gets time to shoot. The same way, not to the same extent, but he's starting to kind of pick up this move in his locker that's becoming inevitable in the same way that Gareth Bale used to be. In the same way that Robin used to be. And look, that's blasphemous to say in the ears of some people. I get that. These are all-time great players. And they did it to a regularity that made them those all-time great players. But Saka is now beginning to develop this gene on the right where when he cuts in and you give him even an ounce of space, he is punishing you. Again, to do it to the regularity of those 2 guys who are, in my opinion, all-time great right wingers, that will have to be what Saka becomes. Like if Saka ends up becoming as inevitable and as consistent, cutting in and hitting those shots and creating those chances like those 2 did, then damn it, he's gonna be an unbelievable player. But people are failing to see that it's there. He has that trait. Now the consistency is the next step, but you're starting to see it. I'm not trying to say he's as good as Robin and he's as good as Bale. Don't get it twisted. That's not what I'm saying here. But he's starting to kind of make that cut in and strike with your left and fire it into either the bottom or top corner. That's starting to become his trademark move. And I know we never want to compare him we never want to jump the gun with these kinds of players, especially when we're comparing them to all-timers, right? Robin and Bale, their bodies of work are crazy. And I do think they're both better players than him. Let me make that very clear. But I'm telling you, he is starting to make that action his trademark move. To the point now where if I'm a coach, right? If I'm Wolves' coach, I'm making my entire game plan send Saka down the fucking right. Stop letting him cut inside. I know it's tough. And again, like I said, what made Bale and Robin so brilliant is their inevitability. It's their inevitability where even if you want to stop them from cutting inside, they still do it and it still pulls off. I don't know if Saka has that level of inevitability yet. But until he does, if I'm a coach, I'm instructing my defenders. I don't care if you have to quadruple team this guy. Do not let him cut inside because he's got that cross, that in-swinger that he played into Havertz, and now he's got that strike as well too. Stop letting him cut inside. He might be able to kill you off the right too because Saka's very good at going down the wing and crossing in with his right. It's not like Saka's useless when you make him go down the line. But if there's 2 ways to die, choose that way. Stop letting this guy cut in, bro. Stop letting this guy cut in. What a player. And he keeps growing every single year, chat. Honestly, every single season, and it's a testament to Saka. Every single year, he just keeps growing and getting better and getting better and getting better and getting better. I love that about a player. Improvement year on year on year on year on year. Do I think Arsenal have done enough signing-wise to beat City now? I don't think so. I made my predictions this year. I had City winning the league. Because as much as I rate Mourinho as a player, and as much as I rate Calafiori as a player, I don't know if Arsenal have done enough in the transfer window to really put them above City. But at the same time, they were like a point or 2 away from City. So a result here, a result there. You never know how the table spins. I wouldn't be shocked if Arsenal won the league. But do I think they've done enough in the window? I don't know. I don't think so.